YouTube, it's your boy Kurt Dog, and we are back with yet another video, man. Be sure to make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. So today, bro, Candace Owens is poking holes in everything that the feds have given us as far as this Charlie Kirk case goes. So be sure to make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna react and see what she got to say.
All right, you guys, let's actually start today's episode with a game. I mean, the feds like to play games. Let's play a game. And this is one that everybody can join in on, okay? It doesn't matter how old or young you are. I want you to grab your cell phone. 2-year-old alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, and his 22-year-old boyfriend, Lance Twiggs, okay? The first term I want you to search is retrieve. Yeah, look it up. When is the last time that you used the word retrieve between you and a friend? Retrieve. I'm going to retrieve something. I played this game with my entire staff, and I was able to find, since dating back for the last 3 years, 2 messages where someone used that term. The first person was somebody that was former military, and the second person was a cop. Makes sense. Okay, we're not done playing this game. Second term that I want you to look for in your phone is vehicle. Vehicle. I mean, what pops up for you? Is that something that you say? I'm just going to go outside to my vehicle. I left something in my...
Chat, that is weird for a 22-year-old to have. I don't know if y'all seen the messages that Charlie Kirk killer was using, but
my vehicle. I'll be right back. I parked my vehicle outside. I don't remember where I parked my vehicle. What's popping up for you? Oh, probably literally nothing. Maybe something related to the DMV. That's what came up for me. Things about the DMV. I think for Skylar, something came up for his car wash. Your vehicle is ready. Sounds pretty professional. I don't know what to tell you guys, though, because what they're telling us is that is just the way the 22-year-olds are speaking these days. Apparently, they just shoot the breeze with one another, and they say...
But Candace, you got to remember this. These 22-year-olds, that's not a normal 22-year-old.
Vehicle and retrieve. And if you don't believe me, then good. You shouldn't believe that. You shouldn't believe me when I say that. So welcome back to Candace.
Bro, Chad, I don't know if y'all know, Candace is one of Charlie's closest colleagues.
I love vehicles,
like,
love
they
fast
got
vehicles.
History
I'm
together.
a big vehicle person, said nobody ever. The text messages that were released yesterday in the indictment of Tyler Robinson make perfect sense if you don't think about them at all. Like literally, if you suspend all reason, all rationality, then they can make perfect sense. That's the only way. You just have to stop thinking. You got to get to that point where you're like, are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? No, to be fair. Now we are more broadly considering how stupid the feds believe that we are. And the frankly obnoxious messages that someone strung together must clearly be for either our or their own entertainment. So I want to hyper-focus on those.
Chat, she on to something.
I want to actually hyper-focus on what exactly is wrong with these text messages between Lance and Tyler. Now,
Chat, does Candace think the feds are lying? Or does he think this was a setup? Like, what is she?
Now, first and foremost, the obvious thing, there's no timestamps. Right away, major red flag. Very easy to say he sent the first message at this time. It's a part of your investigation, right? Everybody is on edge globally wanting to know what happened, and they just remove that. But don't worry, you guys, because like I told you, one of the things that me and Charlie always believed in was that we could work harder. And I got to tell you, these devils are working pretty hard, but we can work harder than them, okay? And I decided to go back and on the basis of what Tyler Robinson allegedly writes to his lover, I decided I could work them into the timeline. I could work out an approximate timeline, at least, for us to look at visually for when they had to have been sent on the basis of what he's saying, right?
She mean business, chat.
Because he says certain things that were not revealed to the public at a certain time. So we're going to do that. I also want to point out the fact that the language, which many people said online, somebody actually left a very funny comment. It's like borderline poetic. He's got commas in there. It's like perfect English. And that's actually a striking contrast compared to what's...
Bro, that is crazy. For you to have perfect English, perfect grammar, perfect punctuation after you committed an assassination, and every police on the planet in America is looking for you. For you to sit there and take the time and perfectly type out a text message to your lover.
Inscribed
makes you raise an eyebrow,
on
chat.
The casings, right? He goes through all of these memes that he's written, and I'm not hip to the lingo. Okay, you got to be real deep internet and hip, but for whatever reason, when he's writing these messages, he's very proper, extremely proper, right? What really wants to make sure he gets the punctuation correct. Anyways, let's just dive right back into the timeline.
But Candace, he might have been on some like he might have thought he was a professional. The way he already had the gun set up, he laid down, got out of there. He might have just been in flow.
Dive right back into this conversation, and we're at first going to focus on the third message. And don't forget, just to lead up into this, they are telling us that at no time that we're allowed to know on September 10th, after Charlie Kirk was shot, the roommate, that's Lance, received a text message from Robinson, which said, "Drop what you are doing, look under my keyboard." And so Lance, I don't know what he does all day, but he can do that. He knows he's home. And Lance then runs. I'm saying he ran, prances, who knows, and looks, and he sees this note. And to be clear, we're never going to be able to see that note because the feds have since told us that the note was destroyed. But even though he destroyed the note, he took a picture of it. Yeah, that makes sense, because if you're going to destroy something, the best thing to do is to take a picture of it. And the feds saw the picture, but we're not going to be able to see either. Anyways, don't think about it if you want it to make sense.
Chat, I want to remind y'all, the company that Charlie had built, he did that hand in hand with this woman. So she's pissed.
Then we find out that Lance, I guess, decided to take a picture and then text Tyler back. And here is where he asks him, Lance says, "Tyler, what? You're joking, right?" Because, the note said, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." So Lance is like, "What? You're joking." And Robinson says to him, Tyler says,
"But maybe this like text to chat. Like you running, you don't understand quite what's going on. You trying to, maybe this is like texted or chat to text or something like, and AI helped him.
I'm still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem. That's the town, okay, that UVU is at, for a little while longer yet." So poetic. A little while longer yet. I'm going to look that up on my phone later. "It shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you." Now, I want to jump to this next message because it gives us a timeline. He says to him,
"This is definitely speak to text, Candace. This is definitely speak to text. Has to be."
I assume right away, Lance says, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" And Robinson says, "I am. I'm sorry." And the roommate says, "I thought they caught the person." Okay. And Robinson responds, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Okay, so.
One vehicle? You just committed an assassination. They are on a manhunt in one vehicle, chat? Like, come on.
That lets us actually be able to drop that into the timeline pretty simply. Why? Because we know, and we can pull up this timeline, that they at first thought it was George Zinn, so that's who he's referencing, some crazy old dude. And on the timeline, Skylar, if you want to pull that up so we can go through it, what time Charlie gets shot at 12:23 p.m. Scroll down a bit. George Zinn, we learn about 30 minutes after that, George Zinn, the decoy boy, that's when it's announced that he's a suspect in custody by the Utah police. But it's not until, by the way, 5:30 p.m., because he mentions that second suspect, And he curiously says in that correspondence that he's wearing similar clothing, which I find to be strange. We don't know what that second suspect is wearing until 5:30 p.m. When Governor Cox, 12 minutes into a press conference, the press conference began at 5:30 p.m., mentions that the second suspect, who is a person of interest, is wearing all dark clothing. So the earliest that message could have been sent out is after 5:30 p.m. I think it's unlikely because I think, again, this is all made up, these messages, because he says wearing similar clothing. Okay, he tells us dark clothing. What's similar about that? This guy allegedly, when he did this, was wearing black jeans. I was wearing, dark jeans and a black shirt. So that's like everyone on campus, okay? Nobody in the press conference says, we picked him up because he was wearing something similar to the shooter. So that language right there is actually a mistake from the feds. But again, it allows us to be able to plot it into the timeline. So that's good. Okay. Timeline is back up here.
Candace, it sound like you trying to get this man set free. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's your angle?
And we then know Kash Patel tweets that the subject in custody has been released. Our investigation continues. That was a mistake. The guy in the darker clothing, we don't know who that is. And then it's after, again, like I said, that these correspondences then had to take place. So we're talking about late in the evening, okay, 6 hours on.
Your car insurance company hopes that you never find this site, but now you can stick it to them. Listen, your car insurance company might charge you more because of things you can't control, like your age, gender, or other sensitive personal info. Want to hear the crazy part? Some of these...
I'm wondering what it is that Tyler Robinson is doing throughout this entire time. Skylar, you can keep this up because I want to keep scrolling, okay? What he's doing throughout this entire time, because that's a very long time for him to be just around campus. But then luckily, he's going to let us know what he's doing, right? He's going to jump right in here and he's telling us that he's close to the scene. We know in this conversation that he then says to Lance that he's looking to get that rifle, right? He says, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring it back." Oh, I'm sorry. Let's actually go earlier. He then tells us his alibi, which is amazing, right? He's saying, "I'm lingering around there. I'm trying to get the vehicle." And then, of course, as you always do when you're trying to clean up things, you then spell out your alibi, right? Lance asks him, "Why did you do this?" And Robinson says, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate cannot be negotiated out if I am able to grab my rifle unseen."
Bro, who are you? Judge, I guess he was playing like, bro, what? You had enough of somebody's hatred? Change the channel.
Like, I'm trying to clean up the scene, but also I'm telling you exactly what my motive is here. "I will have left no evidence. I'm going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Okay, so we are now late in the evening. He's still hanging around. The roommate then comes and says, "How long have you been planning this?" He says, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, still trying to get close to that rifle." So I'm wondering if maybe the feds might drop us some footage, right? We should be able to see some footage. He's got to be idling in his car. You've been speaking about how he has this car. I'm assuming he's not just sitting in the woods or sitting on a sidewalk. This is a quote unquote manhunt. So where is he casually sitting, lingering, loitering? I don't know, but that would be some pretty good footage that they could release if they don't want us all to become a conspiracy theorist, okay? He then says, yeah.
Candace is his very best friend, bro. And she think it's a conspiracy? What?
I've been planning this for a bit over a week. I can get really close to it, but there's a squad car that's parked right by it. That's the drop-off spot. I think they already swept the spot, but I don't want to chance it. And then he tells Lance that I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. Yeah, that's a vehicle. "I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle." I went to exactly where I got this rifle from, okay? I don't know. I don't even know if it had a serial number. Weird, because he's been planning this for a week. He might have checked. Now all of a sudden he's getting into details and is wondering if it had a serial number. That seems a little strange to me. But it wouldn't trace to me, of course, because you just told us in writing that it's your grandpa's. Definitely trying to cover your tracks. I worry about Prince. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Okay, we're going to get to that. Focus on the changing outfits. That's a really important piece of this, and that is why I am now a confirmed conspiracy theorist on this, okay? I left it in the bush where I changed outfits, okay? I didn't have the ability or the time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope that they don't find.
It sounds like a story, like one of them stories that you hear. What's her name? Bailey Syrian that do the makeup. It sounds like a wild story, bro.
Prince. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. That's the only thing. Otherwise, it was a perfect job. It was top of the line, professional job. The only thing I left behind was the weapon with my prints on it. Oh my gosh, right? Like that's kind of amazing.
Bro, and that's not no high caliber. That's not no fancy rifle. It's in a box, but that's probably the police box. But it's not no fancy rifle. It's just literally a rifle. Like, bro, who just has a scope chimed in for 200 yards? Not your average civilian.
Okay. Then he, of course, explains, remember how I was engraving the bullets? The effing messages are mostly a big meme. I know I speak proper here, but it's just a meme that I was writing. I wrote, notice his bulge. On Fox News, I might have a stroke if they say that, right? If I see notice his bulge on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. Oh, that really effing sucks. It's almost perfect. Okay, so he then ends this message. This is all from the day. This is all we have from September 10th, okay?
Okay.
Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun. I want to make it very clear. This is Grandpa's gun, okay? Nobody should question this narrative because he has put it all here. I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Okay, so that ends that exchange. Now, I have a couple of notes here that I put here at the end of day one as we worked in this correspondence, which all had to happen, let's call it 7 p.m. earliest, as I say here. Which I want to be clear, the campus is 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours away from where Tyler and Lance live together. We have a map here to show you that.
Bro, how do you stay mad at somebody for 4 hours, bro? Like, bro, when you get about halfway through the trip, like, bro, come on. Like, you got all of that time to think about it. They just going to give him premeditated murder. They're going to give it to him.
So he's just loitering until, like I said, earliest. He's signifying around like 7 p.m. that he's still very close to campus. That's a long day. That's a real long day, just waiting to see when you can go in there. And there's a manhunt, and he's chill.
You got a 4-hour drive there. You got to set up. You got to scale a building. They're not saying how he got on the roof because clearly when he came down, if you all haven't seen it, he fell off the building. You got a 4-hour drive. You get one shot. You hit that. 22 years old. 22 years old.
Chill, because he's changed his outfit. How do we know he changed his outfit? Because he made it very clear that he dropped the clothes, his shooting clothes, right there. He got changed. He didn't have time to take the rifle that was in the that he put in the towel, but he did have time to change. That totally makes sense. And then for whatever reason, he had to leave the rifle with the prints on it. Okay. What's interesting about that, though, is we should recognize that curiously what they've removed from this indictment, again, relevant to the clothes, was the fact that, and the governor's going to say it, that we are told that he at first enters campus on this day at 8:07 a.m. TMZ shows us the footage, remember, of the man wearing a maroon t-shirt and shorts. That's how this day begins. That is walking through a neighborhood just outside of university grounds. The Governor Cox has confirmed this is him.
Bro, you on a fucking, it's a manhunt. And you casually walking through a suburb with a hat, sunglasses on. Granted, the police probably weren't prepared for this. But Look how poised he looks. Look how calm he looks. It's crazy.
Not mentioning the indictment. That's curious. Seems very relevant. Surely, like, I mean, you guys should be mentioning that. The outfit. What did he do, by the way? From 8:07 a.m. when he walked onto campus to when he is then seen walking back onto campus at 11:51. It's about 4 hours. Something else the feds could release to dispel any conspiracy theories would be him walking back to his car. You're telling us he then goes back to campus and he's in a different outfit. Can we get him leaving campus? We know the place is covered with cameras. That would make me feel better if you showed us him leaving campus and then we see
They got one Ring doorbell of him walking in a burgundy.
him coming back in a different outfit. Again, not clear why he couldn't just wear the outfit he was going to wear, since I would imagine you've got thousands and thousands of students that are wearing something as casual as a black t-shirt and blue jeans. I understand a need for a change if you're in, like, you know, a sniper outfit, or if you're wearing, like, I don't know, a Barney costume. You know, if you showed up and you're wearing like a full Halloween costume, then yeah, maybe you should change. But this is just an average college kid outfit. You know, this is just what you expect to see on campus. Just what boys wear. Anyways, like I said, those would be my points from day one. The feds can release that. And also, I'm wondering, where did Tyler spend the night? Can they clarify that? He certainly couldn't have made it out of a rent and back there and back to his home. I'm coming home soon. Would have been the wee hours of the morning. This would have been a good time, by the way, if you're really trying to get away with this, to tell your lover to delete the text messages. But he doesn't do that. He's not going to tell him to delete the text messages on this night. Presumably he saw him. They didn't say he went home to his parents' house. So what happened overnight? When did he get home? He's been so thorough in describing that cleanup job. And by the way, we know that Discord is going to later say that those messages were not coordinated on their server, which I would say was definitely a part of the broader plan. Okay. Let's get into September 11th, because a lot happens here, and you are going to really see what I see here, and we need to demand answers, okay? So on September 11th, we are presented with the first FBI press conference where they confirm that they have found a weapon in the woods. Let's take a listen to a bit of that.
This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. The FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon.
Now, I wouldn't say
What is it to analyze?
the shooter had fled, just based off of what he was just kind of lurking around, ringing to go get his weapon back, okay? Like, for a long time, but whatever. Let's go with that. Then what we have after that 7 a.m. press conference is that exclusively our resident guys over at the New York Post, every exclusive ever, Jeffrey Epstein's death pictures, Ghislaine Maxwell found at an In-N-Out. It's always the New York Post, okay? I view them as a feds. If I'm the feds and I'm trying to make this seem like this is organic, I wouldn't give it to the New York Post, because we're in Utah. And so cops are probably not leaking to a New York-based publication. But whatever, they have the exclusive. They're the ones that reveal the photo. They always have the exclusive, okay? And they show us the gun in the shooting. Their article publishes at, and by the way, my timeline is all based in Mountain Time. So that says 11:21 a.m. Eastern. They publish at 9:21 a.m., 2 hours after that first press conference, and say exclusive. They are the ones that drop the trans narrative. They say these things are found on the bullets, okay? And then just 7 minutes later, the FBI, Salt Lake City, drops static images of the alleged shooter walking up the stairs, okay? So now we can see on our timeline, that's around 10 a.m. in the morning, Salt Lake City time, Mountain Time. So we can then assume that everything else that's about to happen that I'm going to tell you had to have happened, okay, between approximately 10:30 and 7 o'clock p.m., okay?
Oh, and they got confessions. Like, who just openly... Bro, if you kill somebody, if you unalive somebody, why would you tell on yourself? This thoroughly planned out. Obviously, chat. Obviously, he was completely sane. He put the plan together. He executed the plan. He went forth with the assassination, and the first person he texts his roommate. He kept it a secret for a whole week while he was planning this. But once he does it, he decides he's gonna tell his roommate, then tell his parents, and then confess.
A source, and everything the source has told me that has happened when we were lied to publicly has proven to be correct. So I am very inclined to believe this source on a couple of other things. And when I speak also to Lance's family, they are confirming what this source is telling me. So we're going to go through this 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., all of the things that then took place. So they released the photo. And then we are told, as my source initially told me, that it was the mother who recognized Tyler, and she phones him up. Tyler says, "Mom, I'm sick." She doesn't believe it. She loops in Dad, okay? Dad then texts and he calls Tyler. And at this point, we can jump back into day 2 of our messages because Robinson says,
if you are struggling to sell your online course with softwares like Kajabi, you're not alone. You see, we've sold over $5 million on Kajabi, $11 million on Teachable, and $2 million on Go High Level. So yes.
To Lance, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says, Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now. I'm not answering. Okay, so apparently he did answer. According to the indictment, the dad says he didn't answer his text messages, but then the father called him and Tyler Robinson answered, and he tells us that Tyler was suicidal and that is when they just told him, like, calm down, let's speak to you. They bring over their neighbor sheriff friend and they agree that he should go in. Now, if he was in fact suicidal, you don't get that vibe from these messages to his lover. Right? There's nothing in here that he's like, I can't believe what I've done. Now he slept. We don't know where. He seems to be perhaps on very little sleep. I would imagine he was. He just murdered someone. And he's not indicating in these messages that he's going through any sort of suicidal feelings. Instead, he sends this very odd thing about his dad, who he says he's not answering. He writes, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty die-hard MAGA. There's something here for everyone if you want to take the low-hanging fruit and think of this as left versus right? So if you're like, on the right, you're like, I need to blame the left, then it's like, whoa, the trans thing is here. But if you're on the left, you need to blame the right. Well, Dad was a diehard MAGA. It's so fed. It's just so federally written. It's amazing. So chaos right here. Anyways, I guess maybe.
Bro, Candace looking right through it. Like, I feel like they would have been in communication. Like, was the vibes off that day? What was going on?
If you're suicidal, that's what you send. Dad's been pretty diehard MAGA. And then we don't know, again, when these messages took place, but it all had to happen in these 7 or 8 hours. He says, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors is here. He is deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. He seems impassioned here. He doesn't seem suicidal. And then Lance comes back and says, I'm much more worried about you. And Robinson says, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments because the feds want to let you know why it is that we're not talking to Lance, right? They got to tell you. Because Tyler told him, duh. If you're going, wow, if Lance is really not guilty and he hasn't done anything, this would be a good time to speak, right? No, Lance is not doing that because Tyler right here says, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. And if any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. So that's how it happens. And I want to tell you that we can jump back into the timeline here. Our source informs us that it was around 7:00 p.m. when everybody locally began receiving the text messages that Tyler Robinson was in custody and that they were going to pick him up in Warner Valley. Now, Warner Valley, is right next to St. George. So he lives very close to his parents, is what I want you to recognize. You've got St. George, you've got Warner Valley. So they said like that's where they went to go pick him up.
Bro, that is a long time. And why is he just walking through random neighborhoods after he just committed an assassination? Like, bro, none of it's making sense.
That could very much be his parents' place. But what's really interesting about that, okay, if you consider that they are telling us at 7 p.m. that this is when all the messages started circulating, then we don't know why the feds say that it was the 33rd hour after the shooting, like a total Freemason number. 33rd hour after the shooting. It took us 33 hours. That would be inaccurate, okay? 33 hours would be at 9:23 p.m. Our person is telling us, and I tend to believe them, that everyone knew at 7 o'clock p.m., okay? And what they tell us took place thereafter, and this is what I confirmed with Lance's family, because I said, wait a second, you owned the house. When did they pick up Lance? When did Lance go in? When did the home that you own get raided by the feds? Did the home that you own get raided by the feds? And what that family is telling me, and what my source is telling me, it's matching, okay? So I'm feeling good about this. We'll say allegedly, but I'm feeling good about this, okay? So Tyler is allegedly in custody, and they are told, don't say, don't speak, don't do anything. The feds, you have to wait for the feds to get there to question Tyler. And that didn't happen until the wee hours of the morning. How do we know? Because we're going to hear that from Governor Cox the following morning. Anyways, but apparently what happens is then they bring Lance in at 11 p.m.-ish. We'll tell you around 11 p.m., Lance Twiggs is brought in for questioning, okay? And shortly thereafter, that apartment is raided. And I say overnight into the wee hours of the morning is when they first raid Tyler and Lance's apartment. Now, why am I really stressing this out to you? Or I'm stressing this point to you here. Because this would signal to you that it would be absolute BS if the feds are going to tell us bright and early the next morning that the case is closed. They would know nothing.
Have you heard about the people who are investing in real estate that's backed by the government for just a few $100s? It's actually...
According to Lance's family, this is when they seized his electronics. They say that he's deep on the internet web, that there's definitely going to be something there. And yet they told us that, quite oddly, Lance gets released right back to his parents. Right, not right back. Lance just gets released to his parents while they're raiding his apartment. Why would they release Lance? Wouldn't you think that you would be detained like for at least 24 hours?
Yeah,
right?
Especially we figuring this out and assassination was just committed. Bro, if you get arrested for questioning on an assassination, it doesn't even make sense, chat.
Putting this at around 11 p.m.-ish, that they have brought him in and they are questioning him and they are now moving to raid his apartment in the wee hours of the morning. Why would they very quickly release him? And beyond that, I'm going to let you know, let's jump into Friday on the timeline. Like I said, early hours, Tyler and Lance have their apartment raided and the devices seized. For whatever reason, the FBI quickly releases Lance. And I'm told that he is dropped off at his parents' home, allegedly. And then it's at 6 a.m. that President Trump announces with a high degree of certainty that they have the suspect, okay? So are they still raiding his place? I don't know, but take a listen to Trump on Fox and Friends.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job.
Bro, Candace is not going for none of this shit. None of it.
Okay, and here is what the governor is then 2 hours later is when his press conference began. I'm going to do the short clip. Okay, let's play actually a little bit of the longer clip, Skylar. I'll tell you when to come out of it. It's a 6-minute long clip, and you should go back and watch it in its entirety He's going to make it seem like, Lance doesn't even exist. But let's start it off and listen to a minute of this, and then I'll give the synopsis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out.
September 11th. September 10th. September 11th. What year anniversary was it for the original September 11th? Like, I don't.
To a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by
Dodge Challenger. I guess he was prepared in case it was going to be a chase. It's just not making sense. A 22-year-old Dodge Challenger. But he claims that he's suicidal or like it's.
Investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images.
Okay, stop. That's actually a perfect place to stop right there. My source says he's lying. I don't like Governor Cox. Vibes. Okay, vibes. I don't know. Can't explain it. I'm getting tons of people that are messaging me telling me he's corrupt, that he forced himself onto the ballot, that he wasn't even supposed to be the governor. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. I just don't like him. Every time we find an inconsistency, I actually find him to be the mouthpiece of it, okay? So he is representing, and my source says falsely, that they picked up Tyler Robinson. And by the way, it makes perfect sense that my source is saying that that's not accurate. In the same outfit that we just showed you, okay, of the maroon thing that happens at 8 o'clock. We don't know what he was doing for 4 hours on campus, but he's telling us that for 33 hours, he decided that he was going to keep the outfit on. Now, remember, I told you that Tyler Robinson's classmate reached out and they insisted that this was an incredibly odd thing because he was very tidy. He was very clean. And they said that's the first thing that they went, that just sounds weird. He was a very tidy dude. Now I'm telling you that my source is saying he wasn't wearing that outfit when he got picked up. He wasn't wearing that outfit when he was brought to the office. If I have this wrong, this would be a very easy thing. Okay, surely they're going to have photos. They've got something for them to release. It's like, yeah, no, we totally got him. I want to be clear. If you are in the police station and you want to reach out and let me know more, tips@CandaceOwens.com, because I'm struck by this. This is what we should be hyper focusing on. He kind of wraps it up and says he was wearing the same outfit. And that always sounded dumb to us. Why would you not take a shower in 33 hours, okay? That doesn't make any sense to anybody whatsoever. And people are saying that fact is untrue, okay? Now,
I mean, I'm probably, if after I commit an assassination and a manhunt is out looking for me, I probably wouldn't shower. Like, he probably was in the blinds the whole time.
If that is untrue, let's first show you how he wraps this up. We might show you a portion of what he just said again because we wanted to compress his 6-minute clip, but listen to how he wraps up this conference too, because it's relevant.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah. But I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to.
Everybody got on their best suit, their best duds. Like, it's just something not right here.
Bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history.
Closure. he says closure. We got him. They already start, and in that he starts talking about the messages.
And that's how it's pretty much been. Once they got him, it was pretty much over. Everything, like, you don't see it on the news really anymore. Like, it hasn't even been a week.
He starts filling in the blanks. He said he had it. He put it in a towel. We have messages. It's all over. We found it on Discord. Discord is going to say that's not true. So who made up these messages? When were these messages made up is the question. If Discord's saying they don't exist, this signals to me that these messages were just created, right? And I'm further feeling that way because there's no timestamps. Again, I want to be proven wrong, okay? But I don't like this at all. And we got him, it's over, and we can turn the page with finality. Would you, if you were an honest governor and you knew that only, again, 4 hours earlier, how long does it take to raid a home? I don't know, is it quick? Is it like a 10-minute thing? It feels like it'd be a long thing to grab the devices. If you knew that you had not even begun going through those devices, how would you say that we can close this chapter? Why would you say that we can close this chapter? I would have said, honestly, and he does not, we raided his home and we are looking for more information. We think that there's going to be a lot more information, but we wanted to let you know that we at least have one person that we feel is definitely involved. That's not what he says. He says it's over, it's done, wrap it up. We're not going to even tell you about the fact that we just raided this place a couple of hours ago. And the person whose place we raided, who is the one that the family says is super internet, we just kind of released, but we're not interested in that. What are we to discern from all of this? I'll tell you my take on this. I think the person in the maroon that's walking is different from the person that's walking up the stairs. It's a gut thing, okay? I don't know, but I know.
You don't play with that. You don't play with that woman intuition, chat.
Okay? I don't know, but I know. It makes sense in the timeline of George Zinn, the decoy boy, that we've got other people that are doing different things, and they do not want us to prod the narrative about the person in maroon. It doesn't make sense. They can't tell us. He said he planned this for weeks. So I'm going to assume if he planned it for weeks, and he didn't go to campus earlier because he wanted to scope things out, he would have done that. He would have obviously been able to do that already because he's been planning this for a week. He knew where Charlie was speaking, right? Make it make sense. It's very easy to debunk me. Very easy. You should have footage of him in that Dodge Challenger just waiting and salivating. He kept checking. He said, oh, here I am right here, just waiting to get that rifle back. I'm waiting to get that rifle back. Where's the footage? You were on a manhunt. Where is the footage? Surely during a manhunt you use drones. I feel like we are tech capable enough that during a manhunt after a murder.
And that's extreme, but she's right.
Decides to take out Charlie Kirk, who has been a friend of the feds, right? I think probably not a good idea to be friends with these people, but whatever. He's been a friend of the feds. Surely this is a big issue. And to put to rest in conspiracies, you're going to show us that drone footage, and we're going to see the Dodge Challenger just sitting there for hours and hours and hours.
Nobody
maybe even going to be able to
nothing?
see, because I'm sure at that point, like, cops maybe set up some barricades or something to see he was going in and out. And then he decides he's going to leave. Show us the footage. Like I said, every inch of that campus is covered, so we should be able to see he's wearing maroon, and you're telling us that he went back to his car and he changed. Show us him leaving campus before he returns back to campus around 11:30. Just show us the footage, okay? I'm demanding it. You know why? Because I need to be able to fit things into my timeline, if that's okay with you. So I would discern that we are looking, just vibe again, 2 different people would be my thing. 2 different people. One of those people is definitely, individuals is definitely being protected. And separately, we can definitely make out that for whatever reason, Lance is being protected. There's no way you release that guy, okay? There's no way you release that guy immediately. There's no way that you intentionally purge him out of these messages, okay? The excuse, he's being cooperative, doesn't work. You can be cooperative while you're still being detained. at least 24 hours before you would say, I felt good to clear him as a suspect, especially when you haven't even raided his home yet. They released him instantly and they said, job done. So I would like more information about Lance Twiggs. Okay, I already don't like that mom received a Bachelor of Science from Stanford University in psychology. It seems to be a running theme in these Fed ops that there's always psychology somewhere in the family. And I want to be very clear, I'm not saying his mom has anything to do with anything.
I think they trying to, like, he might end up at a psych ward the way that they making it sound. That's just my opinion.
But I am saying that I feel this kid, for some reason, some unknown reason, is being protected. And I'm not the only one. His family feels that way. Okay? His family thinks it's odd. Like I said yesterday, I spoke to them today. I spoke to them yesterday. They think it's odd that the feds moved on from him so quickly and that the feds were being dishonest and they felt about everything when they first came out with information. So why are we all feeling that way? We absolutely need to get to the bottom of it. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to show you some stuff. I mean, Tucker completely destroyed the Bibi Netanyahu narrative, Megyn Kelly, Dave Smith. I mean, everybody yesterday. The truth is coming out inevitably about Charlie's mindset. The only reason we're discussing it, obviously, is because of Bibi Netanyahu coming out and lying. But some important things that he said. First and foremost, before we do that, I want to remind you guys about Riverbend Ranch because I absolutely love them as a company. And I know that there were so many people, so many companies that wanted to make sure that they did something to try and heal and also to try to remember Charlie. And Riverbend Ranch did the exact same thing. They put together the following tribute to honor him.
We pay tribute to Charlie Kirk, and we celebrate the tremendous good he did in his life. Charlie courageously advocated for the sacred principles of freedom, constructive discourse, truth, family values, and common sense. He taught with humor and wisdom, and backed up his beliefs with data and facts. He set a powerful example of reaching out and talking to those who disagreed with him. We mourn his passing, but what he taught us continues to resonate with even more power.
A message from all of us at Riverbend Ranch.
Also want to remind you guys of Beekeepers Natural because as a mom of 4 young kids, life is constantly on the move. There's school drop-offs, there's work, there's travel, there's play dates, and let's be honest, germs are everywhere. That's why I'm so thankful for Beekeepers Natural.
Candace is holding it together very well. I want you all to understand. I said this earlier in the video, but this was his very best friend, not only colleague, best friend. They were really locked in.
And their amazing propolis throat spray. If you haven't heard of propolis, it's this natural immune supporting substance that bees make to protect their hives. It's like nature's own shield packed with antioxidants and over 300 beneficial compounds. It's been used for centuries to help support immunity, to soothe scratchy throats, and to keep you feeling your best. I use propolis throat spray, especially during travel or school season. It's clean, natural. It is free from all the junk that you cannot pronounce. There's no dyes, no chemicals, and no fake sugars. Beekeepers Naturals recently launched a kid-friendly version of their nasal spray. The mist is super soft and it's gentle, so kids will actually use.
Chat, be sure to make sure y'all like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is crazy.